Hello, welcome to Zenith Unlocked Freedom from Addiction. In this session, we are beginning the third key on forgiveness, and we will discuss the power of forgiveness. Forgiveness is incredibly important as you work on overcoming your addiction. Both by forgiving others and forgiving yourself, you will drop a tremendous weight off of your shoulders that might have been there for however many years that you have held onto that unforgiveness. This unforgiveness can be part of the reason why you are having such a rough time with your addiction in the first place. For this reason, forgiveness can help you overcome it. However, first, let's look at what life is like when we choose not to forgive. In 1999, Samantha's dad had brutally killed her mother. Obviously, this is horrific, and it's easy to see why it would be difficult for Samantha to forgive her father. However, she reported that for 13 years after the murder, her view of reality was dark and dismal. She said, "My life was a muted, drunken blur. If people complained they had bad relationships with their family, I had no tolerance whatsoever. I was consumed by a potent mix of grief and anger. 13 years of pain, drunkenness, and bitterness is not a good way to live." While what Samantha went through was terrible, it's worse that she had to live those 13 years like that. How awful it is to feel like your life is muted. Thankfully for Samantha, that was all changed when she decided to forgive her dad. In 2012, after attending a retreat that convinced her to be more forgiving of the people in her life, Samantha went to visit her father in prison where he was on his deathbed. She forgave him, even apologized for not coming to see him sooner. Samantha shared that this act of forgiveness gave her her life back. Her visit with her dad completely transformed her and allowed her to see this tragedy in a new light. She said, "I have compassion for my dad now in a way that you have compassion for the bully who uses aggression to mask pain and hurt." She is able to look at her father with compassion. That is incredible. What a wonderful gift she received through forgiving her dad. Even more, we can imagine that this act of forgiveness must have been absolutely amazing for him. How many hours, weeks, months, years had he been aching over his bad decision and the terror he must have felt that he not only destroyed the life of his wife, but also that of his daughter? How incredibly powerful it must have been for him to receive that. He went from feeling hated, cast out, and estranged to the exact opposite, loved, accepted, and reunited. And as hard as it might be to understand, Samantha truly loves her father again. She felt like the time she was able to spend with him during that meeting allowed her to see him how he was before the incident. She said, "For 10 minutes, I got my dad back. And when I left, I felt this incredible weight drop away." Powerful. This is what happens when we forgive. We lose the bad, and the goodness that unforgiveness takes from us is restored. I have worked with many people in our Zenith Mentorship Program who I have seen forgive and then receive similar gifts. Through their forgiveness, there is restoration and a new perspective on the events that happened to them. This new perspective almost always brings about compassion and love for those who hurt them. Forgiveness is powerful, and as we can see, it is not only powerful for the person being forgiven, but for the person who is forgiving. We can also see more of what forgiveness can do in the story of Ann Atwater and C.P. Ellis. In 2005, Atwater, a civil rights activist and an African-American woman, spoke at the funeral of Ellis, a former leader of the KKK. This is remarkable, but actually very fitting considering the beautiful friendship they had. In the early 1970s, Durham, North Carolina still had segregated schools, and Atwater was made a co-leader of a group established to help explore this issue. The other co-leader would be Ellis, whose feelings about desegregating the schools were the exact opposite of Atwater's. There were many committee meetings and much was discussed. Anne had already known CP from a city meeting where CP's hateful language made her want to kill him. The dislike each had for the other was great and destructive. However, after much time together and an incredible act of generosity on the part of Anne in helping out CP's son with something, Ellis and Atwater were able to do more than put aside their differences. They began to see how much they had in common and began to like one another. It is noted that even though this had caused Ellis to be dejected by his community, they became good friends. Atwater was able to forgive Ellis for his past hatred. He relinquished and condemned his participation with the KKK. They both went on to work together to ensure that the school system of Durham served the children more. It is easy to see how much each of them gained through Atwater's forgiveness of Ellis. Both gained a friend, confidant, and helpmate in fighting for the improvement of their children's schooling. CP was able to learn how to love, which is a tremendous life-giving gift. Anne was able to experience the joy of giving him that gift and more, of setting him free with her love. Amazing. Anne Atwater went on to say, There is no future without forgiveness. It's true. She gave C.P. Ellis a beautiful future through her forgiveness. And she gave herself a better future through this as well. This is the power of forgiveness. It sets people free. The Mayo Clinic tells us that forgiveness involves an intentional decision to let go of resentment and anger. The act that hurt or offended you might always be with you, but working on forgiveness can lessen that act's grip on you. It can help free you from the control of the person who harmed you. Sometimes forgiveness might even lead to feelings of understanding, empathy, and compassion for the one who hurt you. And that's what happened with everyone from the stories I shared. And I think you will experience something similar through your forgiveness too. That being said, in the next few sessions, we will look more at that and how to deal with regret and resentment, which can be big obstacles to forgiveness.